all you beautiful people out there, and thank you for tuning in to this episode of Intangible Commerce. I need to work on my intros. I am your host, Ray Roberts, and thank you so much for joining on this hard-hitting episode as we tune into the news this morning or yesterday, whatever. Depends on where you are on your political news watching journey these days. I know there's a little bit of back and forth on that, but Convoy closing its doors, failed to find a buyer. And maybe this is what happens when companies are born and bred for the purpose of sale. When something in the market shifts and happens and you can't sell your company anymore, it fails. It fails, and what happens, right? So let's look at this. Unpack it a little bit more. Take you back. It's April of 2022. It's not like we're going back 10, 20, 30 years. We're going back a year and some months. Whatever. Give me a break. Some months and some change, whatever. April 2022. Valuation, $3.8 billion. Convoy, if you don't know, is a like a freight brokerage software type company, right? Freight brokerage where you're booking your freight, so you need to ship some goods. You got some candles, you got some water bottles, whatever it is. You need to book a truck. Convoy is the type of company you would reach out to. They would help you book that freight and get the goods delivered wherever they needed to go. All right, so point A to point B, trucks. Trucks. And we all hear this all the time. Trucking makes this country go round, and it's absolutely true. Without trucks, you don't have goods and services. But there's been a problem. I don't know if you've realized, or maybe you've been in tune with the fact that our economy's not doing so good. We've got some costs that are spiking. We've got fuel that is at an all-time high. Recession that is peaking that and knocking on the door of the Great Recession. And salaries that are worse than the Great Depression by comparison of inflation. If you were to take that away, we're living in a time where we make less and less, and the goods go up and up and up. We're also in the exact same time seeing the greatest just explosion of wealth. The most billionaires ever created happened from 2019 to now, and it's continuing. There is so much BS going on, and let's look at this company a little further. So Convoy is backed by a few people you might know. The guy named Bill Gates, he backed it. There's another dude, you might know him. His name's Jeff Bezos. He backed it. There is all sorts of Al Gore's investment management group even backed these guys. What's going on, man? When you look at this market, what is happening? Now, the first thing that Convoy did, their problem was, I think from the ground up, they were poising to sell in a market that's not necessarily looking to buy. When you've got trucking companies, right, who are they going to sell to? First off, let's look at that. You got other freight brokerages that are having the same struggles as you. You're not going to have, and their platform is basically like a user base, right? So when you look at their book of business, it's not like they've captured a bunch of people that otherwise couldn't be captured. So the problem started from the day they launched. The thing they set out to do, they were never going to be able to do. And now here we are. People's lives are ruined or otherwise displaced because this company was always going to have this problem. And it just made it worse that the economy is the way that it is. So, yeah, they've got a lot of issues. And let's, knock on the door of just a few months ago when Yellow closed their doors. Yellow is one of the oldest trucking companies in America. It was one of the largest trucking companies in America. They were operating since 1924. Put that into perspective. 1924. They received over $700 million of pandemic-era lifeline from the federal government. Yellow Freight, YRC, Yellow, could not sustain it. Could not sustain it. And looking at their 2022 revenue, it was a good year. It was a good year. It was a $38 million net gain because they disposed of a bunch of property. They were trying to pay off all these debts. And this wasn't something that you could look at and this, no matter what side of the political fence you're on, this was a Trump thing. Trump really believed in these guys and thought, yeah, we're going to get a big return on this investment. Trucking is the core of this country. And he's right? Not saying he was wrong. It was at the time, a good move. One would think. But what happened? That pandemic created this gigantic problem we have today, and we're still seeing it. And freight costs are going up, and fuel costs are going up. So despite their $5.2 billion revenue line, they failed. They absolutely failed, and it came down to finger pointing. Now, I don't know if Convoy, if they had the same problem of finger pointing as everybody else did, but I can tell you that the average base salary of the CEO of Convoy was over $800,000 a year. Yeah, because that makes sense. Apparently, with bonuses, this person was making over $1 million a year. Well, what do you suppose would have happened? How much longer could that company have sustained itself if that person decided that, you know what? I can probably live on $500,000 a year. Maybe I don't need $1 million. Maybe I don't need $800,000. Let's cut the $300,000. And as a matter of fact, let's look at the other salaries, the top 10% of this company, because apparently the top 10% of that company was making over $600,000. Guys and gals, I don't need to tell you that these crazy salaries are part of the problem. Now, I'm not over here saying that people who work hard shouldn't make hard, right? You should make great money. If you're working that hard, you should. But if your company is freaking struggling, and you're looking at the sheets going, sheesh, we can't sustain like this. I guess if your goal is to sustain, I don't think that theirs was. I think this was the way I'm looking at this could be wrong, and I would love to get feedback. But this feels like martyrdom. This feels like they fell on the sword, knowing it was going to make insane headlines. It's a Y Combinator investment group that funded these guys. You got Bezos funding these guys. You've got all these things holding these guys up, and then this happens. They fell, and I think they're falling on a sword. I think they're falling on a political sword, and I think these guys are making martyrs of not only themselves but all their employees, the lives of all the people that trust these folks to do the right thing. And it's sad. It is sad when you dive into that and you look into those numbers. It's unfortunate that we can live in a world where it's allowed. And I don't want to say that it should be illegal. I just wanted to say that it should be part of your moral compass. It should be, not to play with people's lives. You should take it seriously. And I don't think that this day and age we really do in a lot of ways. It feels like leadership is sometimes okay with the fact that they could just do that kind of thing. So anyway, I digress. You get what I'm saying. I think we need to take a look at this as well. And I do think that e-commerce and the way that distribution of freight happens with e-commerce is partly to blame for these things. The efficiencies, right? So you look at an industry that is driven by technology. So how is that different from a B2B? Well, you look at like someone that Convoy would service, right? A B2B market. They're doing truckload, big trucks full of stuff going here and there. Well, why would that be reduced? They're saying there was a big freight recession. Yeah, no doubt. But also, let's take a look a little bit layer deeper than that. With the advent of e-commerce, well, I guess with its proper birth anyway, we started seeing different concepts, different inventory concepts like connected commerce, which is the idea by which that Amazon brought on. Shout out to the Amazon team, where we're not going to have inventory in 5 or 6 main DCs, distribution centers. We're going to have them in 50, 100, 150. We're going to have little bits of inventory spread out strategically based on data, so I can get via a parcel carrier to the customer faster, or a box truck, a local delivery. It doesn't have to be an LTL carrier. That concept has bled through. So now you see different partnerships popping up where I can be, Ray Ray's ABC seller, and I normally sell to grocery stores or grocery chains, and I normally hire a truck to come pick up at my distribution center in Dallas or City of Industry, California, or Miami, wherever. And they're delivering this big truckload to the stores and shops and whatnot. That used to be the common way to do things, and in a lot of ways it still is. But you're also seeing the other side of that coin is what has been brought on by e-commerce. That side of the coin is the side that says, hey, I don't need to own the warehouse. There's loads of warehouses. There's loads of third-party warehousing and logistics providers. I'm going to put a little bit of my freight in one of those. And because I'm paying a lot less money to get the goods there, I can afford now to shave a little margin to have the goods delivered more strategically. So it's a strategic distribution of goods. Instead of having 50,000 units in one warehouse, I'm going to have 1,000 units in 50 warehouses. So you see now my inventory is spread out all over the country, and I can get to my end user or my B2B relationship, whoever's receiving these goods, I can get it there faster, more efficient, and it's going to cost me less money. And at the same time, I'm able to do this. At the same time, it's causing that ripple effect where I don't need as many LTLs. I don't. It's like, hey, I'm shipping this, but yeah, I'm shipping a pallet. Pallet can fit on any sort of size of truck, or I'm gonna ship it in units, and I can do that, in a couple different parcel deliveries, or whatever the case may be. I'm not saying it's everybody doing it, but I'm saying that concept of connected commerce has had an effect where we're simply just more efficient. So it makes you wonder. It makes you really wonder what's going on. Are we seeing the culmination of a few different events, right? Is this what's the age-old saying? What is it? An immovable object meets what is it? Oh God, I can't remember the saying now. I'm gonna have to look this up. You guys are catching me. And those of you who know it are sitting there going, immovable object meets an unstoppable force. It's early, all right? Give me a break. Is this the immovable object meets an unstoppable force, where we've got a colliding of industries and a colliding of events? We have the modernization of logistics. It is not far-fetched for me to say that there is more logistics technology now than there has ever been in the history of the world. We've got AI and reporting and all sorts of different softwares for all sorts of different tasks. And we've got PhDs just belting out all this fantastic information. We're getting better. And with efficiency comes change. And with that change comes friction. Anytime you're trying to do anything, there's friction. And so when we take a look at how the freight market these days is going, and you combine that with the recession, combine that with our economy, the inflation, all the problems we're having politically, globally, it's causing a lot of problems. And that's what we're seeing play out in the market right now, in my opinion. I'd love to get your opinion. So please feel free to comment down below, or fill out the Q&A, or any other way that you want to do it. I'd love to have a conversation about exactly that, because I think it's important that we align on our thinking. So the market as a whole has just been a mess. It's been an absolute mess, but man, there's always a silver lining. We've got some good numbers coming out from Q4. I think a lot of that is still propped up by, the $1 trillion in credit card debt that's sitting out there right now. But there are a lot of positive things happening in the market as well. So a lot of shifting happening, and a lot of new businesses are popping up. It hasn't stopped innovation. It hasn't stopped people's ability and willingness to change. So we're seeing a shift. We're seeing the friction from shift, and there's always going to be that when you have shift. And I wouldn't want that to stop anybody from doing anything. So let's take a look on now at Amazon's numbers. Amazon Prime Day numbers. Let's see what happened. Do we have the numbers yet? Let's take a look. I meant to look this up before, but I didn't. If you guys haven't noticed, I've been a little busy lately. So is this it? Modern Retail. Have you got the numbers, Modern Retail? Let's see. Couple things I've got going on while I look this up. I am starting a new e-commerce business myself. Speaking of new, and with this business, it is a custom batters and spices. So the idea behind it is that you will buy the bag of unique spices and blends. It's not something that you're normally going to find in your store. It's not beer batter. It's not that kind of thing. It's not your standard chicken or onion ring batter. It is a very unique experience, a very, very unique blend of spices. It doesn't taste like anything you ever had before, and I invite you all on November 18th to come out and try it. And I'm really hoping that you do. It's rayraysbatter.com. Sponsored by rayraysbatter.com. Can I sponsor my own podcast? Does that mean I need to pay myself? I should charge myself a fee for planting my own, plugging my own website. Early numbers suggest that Amazon's October Prime Day drove a sales spike for some brands compared to the same time last year. Some companies are seeing a 25% bump over last October, which is insane. But they go on to say that if I want to learn more about that, I need to pay for it, and I don't want to pay for it. So that means if we're taking that, let's extrapolate that, because we did $13 billion in July. $13 billion in July. And we did, it looks like, slightly higher than that this October. I'm struggling to find the actual numbers, and I truly thought by now we would have them. But I might need to wait a little bit longer. But if we extrapolate that, so some brands saw 25%. Always, if you look at the news agencies, right, they're going to take the most impactful number. They're not going to say, most brands saw a 10% bump and some saw 25. No, they're going to say, oh, these guys saw 25, and make you think it's 25. It's not 25. There's no way it's 25, because if it's 25, we're looking at absolute, just gigantic Prime Day numbers that are, in the 20 billions. There is no way. I will have to do something ridiculous if it comes back that they actually hit 20 billion in sales compared to the 12 billion they did, 12.7-ish or whatever they did over, last Prime Day in July. There's no freaking way. Yeah, so we're going to get those Prime Day numbers here. I will try to talk about that next week. I do have a couple guests lined up. We're going to try to bring on here soon an expert in India's e-commerce boom. I know there's been a lot of chatter around that. I, for one, am extremely interested in that myself, and how India's market has really started to shift to global markets in terms of how customers are engaged and how new markets are born. Because with togetherness and globalization, as we all know, we hear it to be a bad thing. Some say it's a good thing. I'm kind of an in the middle sort of guy anyway. I don't see things as half full or half empty. I see water in a glass, and if I'm thirsty, I'll drink it. In this moment, the market penetration that India is seeing, and the shift of the typical shop seller going online, that adoption has happened far, far faster than what the American market has done, given a few factors. Okay, so e-com has existed in America for a lot longer, and it's been more accepted for a lot longer because of our adoption of digital banking. India has been very slow to adopt digital banking. That is like, hey, I've got a credit card, right? Instead of dealing in cash and coin, they're dealing now in card or even digital transfers and that kind of thing. That sort of transaction wasn't really trusted so much. So now it's shifted that quite a bit there locally, where I think the US has had sort of almost a progression first attitude towards market and e-com, and the faster I can get things, the better. It might come to the speed and pace of life in the States. That could have a factor behind it, and I'd love to get my guest's opinion on that. When we film that, we will get that filmed. It's not done yet, guys. It's not done yet. We're busy over here. We got an e-com that we're building and booming. So check it out, rayraysbatter.com. Give us a look. I've got a few different recipes coming. I will have to say, and I hate to pick favorites, but man, I love the spicy stuff. So I've got a couple spicy recipes out there, and there's the dill. Is fantastic. It's fantastic. I don't want to toot my own horn, all right? That's not what we're here to do. We're here to bring you the big news. And the big news today is Convoy is failing. Yellow has sunk. The Panama Canal is done for now. You're not coming through it. We got droughts. We've got wars. We've got all sorts of just crazy things happening. But I want you to take a moment and pause. Right? There is a lot going on. And you got a lot going on in your life, I'm sure. We're all under stress. We're all under pressure. Just take a minute and pause. Take a deep breath. Hey, let's do this together. Take a deep breath. And realize it will go on. Life will go on. This is a moment in time. This isn't all time. This is for now. And for now, yeah, man, things can be a little crappy. But it won't always be that way. We are still seeing movement in the market that's not credit related. Just because credit's at an all-time high doesn't mean it's the only thing happening. There is still progression happening. Companies are buying. People are spending money. The world is still churning. So wherever you are right now today in your journey of life, whatever you're feeling, if you come across this podcast, I hope what you'll take away is, yeah, man, some things suck. There's a lot of greedy people out there making a lot of greedy money. And it's fine. It's fine. If your whole idea is to build a company and sell it, and if it fails, it fails. Oh well, I made my money. Then cool. That's you. That's on you. That's how you live your life, and that's fine. But do realize that you will wake up tomorrow, and tomorrow's a new day, and a new day has new opportunities for new cool things to take place, and you won't know what's going to happen until you get there. And on that bombshell of an episode of Intangible Commerce, I am going to stop bugging you, and I really, really, really appreciate every single one of you that show up and watch the podcast every week. We're continuing to grow the channel, and I could not do it without your support. So, hey, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You're tuning in to me to find your e-com and business news, and sometimes I give good news, and sometimes I give bad news. And I need to have like a good news episode. There needs to be like just an episode, nothing but the good stuff. What was that? There was John Krasinski. I think I'm saying it right. He was in The Office. He did Jack Ryan. Fantastic show, by the way. Quiet Place, the director of all that. You know the guy I'm talking about. He had that Some Good News Network during COVID where everybody was locked down. And man, it was so popular. It kind of came and went. Sad he didn't keep up with it, but he's a busy guy, and I like his stuff. So keep going with those Jack Ryan shows. They're fantastic. Let's do some good news on the next episode. I promise I will come with good news only. Look at this. What is this? What is this on my? What is that? If you guys are watching me on YouTube, you'll know what I'm doing right now. And if not, that's okay. As long as you're watching me somewhere. Thank you so much. And have a beautiful, beautiful day. We're out.